Hey, good morning, my friends. Welcome once again to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. And I am behind two microphones. So it's Mike behind the mic for May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. What do they call this? Star Wars Day? Oh, good morning, John. How are you? Nice to have you along with us as always. You must be just about done with school, John. Cliff, good morning. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. In fact, we'll see some of our friends John, Cliff, Paul, Kevin, Dan. Where did Dan go? Dan, Craig, Johnny. Johnny, who is supposed to be in a meeting right now. This is finals week. What are you doing watching me then? If this is finals week, Billy, good morning. Kevin, good morning. Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. Cliff says, Mike, what day is it? It's hump day and May the 4th. Raber Bay checking in from the Eastern UP. Maryland, good morning. Well, where'd you go, Maryland? What? Robert, good morning. How are you? I find myself looking up and down here. I continue to Ira Township Fire Department checking in. I continue to experiment with different configurations here in the studio as far as cameras and laptops and such. So I'm still looking for the perfect one. I like this setup, except that I find myself looking up and down, Hey, Ron, good morning. How are you? I have an idea. Since this is truly a look inside the Outdoor Magazine studio, kind of a behind the scenes type thing, I'm going to go ahead and experiment with something while I'm live, which may be the kiss of death. May the 4th be with you. Scott, good morning. How are you, buddy? There, that's not going to work if I put it right there, is it? But if I put it right there, now I don't have to look up and down so much. I wish I could take a picture of this thing that I have in front of me here. Still no birds. Might as well listen to me. If you can't listen to the birds, you might as well listen to Avery, huh? See, that's what it's hump day. That's what I've been dealing with as well. Birds that were talking on the roost and hit the ground and they're absolutely silent. Because I took that trip down to the Keys here last week. And by the way, congrats to Devin and Sarah Craves, my nephew and now niece. And they were married down there. We went down for the wedding. It was beautiful. It was absolutely wonderful. But I got a little bit of a late start of my turkey season. But I've been out 3 times now. I'll be out tomorrow morning. Balance the microphones. Why? What's with the microphones? What do you like? What do you not like about them? You want them to be balanced like that, like this? You must have a little case of OCD, huh? I know Scott's been saying this, hunt in the middle of the day. I know, Scott, and it worked for you, and it worked for the guy who posted yesterday. And that's what I will probably do Friday, Scott, is hunt the middle of the day. Morning, Dave. How are you? Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. You might notice yesterday the big toms doubt the sexiness of my calls. Oh, my calls are so sexy. You can't doubt those. Bears are starting to move up in White River, Daryl says. A little personal note here. And you might have seen me post this yesterday. My granddaughter, Addison, is a freshman playing varsity ball for our local high school. And I did a post here. She was nominated for M Live Player of the Week. Now, as a freshman, I think that's a pretty big deal. And even though I know you've probably never seen her play, if you want to help the big guy out and if you want to help Grandpa out, click on that link and vote for Eddie. No turkeys up there. Hey, Daryl. Good morning, Tim. How are you? Always a pleasure. You have a beautiful piece of heaven there, Tim. Congrats. Dan says, what day is it? It's hump day. Also, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. What else? Okay, so the weather. It doesn't feel like May, does it? Although the forecast calls for a little bit warmer next week, but it doesn't feel like May. Not everybody voted, Ed, because if everybody voted, she'd have 8 million votes. You can hear an echo between them. Well, that doesn't make any sense because one of these microphones isn't even plugged in. So that wouldn't make, there's nothing I'm doing on my end here. Going to be up there full-time Sunday. Walleye are on fire, Lloyd says. Jason checking in from the Ford Dearborn truck plant. Good morning. How are you? I know you guys did. Thank you for that. Have I ever had cataract surgery? Yes, I have. Time shifting's over now. For now. MDOT has officially closed the Up North Gateway. I don't know what that means. Yeah, Tim says no echo. Yeah, because this microphone right here isn't even being used for this. This is our official broadcast microphone. And this is the social media mic. See? And you don't hear this one because it's not plugged in. You put in for the first hunt in Newberry. We'll see if you get a bear tag. If you do, John, who are you going to hunt with? I will be putting in for the third season that starts September 25th, and I am guaranteed a tag. I'll be hunting with Johnny Bowler, the bear whisperer. I have a question for me. Are colorful pigeons native or released? You have 6 hanging around for a year now. I don't know the answer to that, Kevin. I'm going to say they're released. Good morning, Brent. How are you, buddy? Congrats on your bird. Deer camp near Trout Lake, eh, John? Good luck with finals, by the way, John. If you were in the broadcast program, I'd say you might be taking some tests from Pat Johnston's wife over there. Oh, is she teaching or just the head of the department? No, I don't mean just the head, but she's teaching too? Okay. Good morning, Julie. How are you? Anyway, my friends, welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic. My name is Mike Avery. It actually feels very good to be back here in the studio after being gone for a week, here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Let me tell you who's on the show, if you don't mind. Jason Karstens of True North Guide Service will be our leadoff guest this week, talking about fishing in the UP. Then the bear whisperer, Johnny Bowler himself, with some advice on what to keep in mind if you're applying for a tag. And I'm going to say, I think if you have a good chance of getting a tag, you should line up your outfitter or guide now if you need one. I mean, if you live up north and you can bait your own sites or whatever, you don't need a guide. And you have property, you don't need a guide. I don't, so I rely on Johnny Bowler. In hour number 2, we're talking with Brenda Archambault, the Sturgeon General, about the giant sturgeon spawning in the Black River right now. A couple of comments here. 8 points. I'm putting in for the first hunt, Schoolcraft County, first time bear hunting. Phil, you're going to, I'm going to say you're going to love it. To me, I would rather bear hunt than anything. It's not for everybody. Like my son James is a big whitetail hunter, and he can take or leave bear hunting. I mean, he likes it, but he doesn't love it like I do. Gene, how are things at the Apex plant? I talked with Brad Dupuis, and he says you guys should start on my boat sometime in the next week or so. Woo-hoo. Good morning, Mad Jack. How are you? Nate checking in from Akiak. Carl, good morning. How are you? Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. Nick Green from MUCC will also check in hour 2 this week. I suspect he wants to talk about commercial fishing. Tom Weston in this week's Ask Avery segment, talking about the licensing system, the online system, maybe some things you don't know. I actually had a problem when I went to get my licenses, and it was user error on my end. But what I did was I got my licenses, and I had to move on to something else. So I put them in the shopping cart and forgot they were in the shopping cart. And in my mind, I had bought my licenses. But I got looking around for my licenses and I couldn't find them. I thought, well, it must be I didn't get them. So I went in online to buy the licenses again, and it wouldn't let me. So now I'm thinking it won't let me because I bought my licenses and I can't find my tags. So I called the DNR. I said, can you help me out? They looked up my name. Joe, I'll get to that in a second here. They looked up my name and they said, Avery, you didn't get your licenses. And they said, why don't you check your shopping cart, your online shopping cart, which was what I did. And that's where they were. So user error. There you go, Johnny. Joe says, what's the best way to get in touch with Johnny Bowler? Well, Johnny says, message him. I was going to suggest, because I don't like giving out phone numbers, and I wouldn't give out somebody's cell phone number on the air or online here. So you can message Johnny directly. I don't know how many openings he has. I know he has one spot filled for the third season because it's me. But if you want to get in touch with anybody here on the show or any of my buddies, and you don't know how directly, you can always reach out to me. You can send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and I will get in touch. I'll help make that happen. My spreadsheet of lucky turkeys. I bet it is. Nate's got 10 points this year for both. For both what, Nate? Oh, for bear and elk? Yeah, this is the time to apply for your bear and elk tag. Going back to the Outdoor Magazine radio show rundown, hour number 3 this week, Jerry Gostinek talking about bass fishing here in Michigan. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. So what else is on the list? I told you about the boat. The Angler Quest should be scheduled to start production here soon. All right, Johnny, I will talk to you soon. Uncle Johnny Craves. Johnny, I was just talking about what a wonderful time. And Johnny's my brother-in-law. I call him Uncle Johnny. He calls me Uncle Mike. We were in Florida to celebrate John and his wife Debbie's son, Devin, their marriage to Sarah, who is now Sarah Craves. And it was wonderful, Johnny. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you letting us be a part of it. Hold on. Joe Ormanovich says, good morning, Johnny Bowler. Oh, brother. Okay. My grandson, Ed, on his trap team, he shoots for the local high school trap team. He continues to improve. Every week, he gets a little better. He's setting a little higher goal every week of busting more birds every week. And tomorrow, he shoots tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to pick him from school and take him out there. His goal tomorrow is to hit 25 birds. Now, that's 25 out of 50. For a guy like you, Ed, that's probably not a big number, but for a kid like him who's just getting started out, I think he's doing pretty good, and he gets better all the time, and he likes it. He really do. He likes it. Hey, Joe, good morning. How are you? Tim says, I see a lot of people fishing below the Tobacco River Dam in Edenville. Wonder if the walleye. Good question, Tim, if the walleye are up there. Well, if there's people fishing there, they're fishing for something. What, walleye, pike, suckers, something. Well, thank you, Uncle Johnny. It was nice. It was a really, really nice getaway. And the weather was wonderful, wasn't it, Johnny? Marty said did good on Lake Erie. Good morning, Joe. How are you? If I didn't say earlier, good morning earlier. Well, John says he thinks it sounds like a great show. I try to make each show as good as I can. But since I'm human, I will admit they're not always award winners. Again, a reminder, this is the time to apply for your Michigan bear and your Michigan elk tags. You won't get an elk tag, and you may get a bear tag. But if you don't apply, you won't get them. What else? On the home front, I think it's just about time to put up the goose fence. Joe says, Mike, what day is it? You're the third person to ask. It's hump day. I think you asked me just so I can make that hump day stupid face. Mike says, shh, with the elk talk. Mike, listen, buddy. The odds of getting an elk tag are pretty small. But back when I used to MC the meetings, the elk orientation meetings, every year there was somebody or maybe a couple of somebodies who got a bull tag with 1 point. The first time they applied, they got a bull tag. So it can happen. Anybody else see the new health report not to eat bluegill and sunfish out of the Huron River? I did not, Ron. I don't know. Anyway, back in the home front, I have a love-hate relationship with geese, and it's mostly hate. Before we moved into a house that had a pond in the backyard, and my only experience with geese was hunting them a couple of times and seeing them fly and seeing them out in the picked cornfields, I thought they were pretty cool critters. And I got some buddies who are hardcore goose hunters who absolutely love them. The way I look at them now is they're big flying rats. And that wouldn't bother me if every goose in Michigan was shot. Did I see any? Yeah. Did I see anything about the walleye up by Augray, some sort of disease? You know, John, I did, but what I'm not sure of is whether that was a recent post, because some of the comments on there made a reference that post was several years old. See, I don't know, Raber Bay. I'm not sure that's a recent post. I do want to follow up on it. I just haven't yet. Yeah. I mean, it's dated too, Pat, but not as dated as the one that we were running.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the right one. We need a new one. We need a new spot for that particular company that I won't mention their name, but I've been asking for one. Matt Gay, yes, I had him on the show. One of the best college coaches in the country. I picked up on that. Absolutely. So, Pat, I'll see you for the podcast. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Joe says no big old Tom turkey for him yet this year. Not for me either yet, Joe. I've had a couple of close encounters. I've only been out 3 times. I will be out tomorrow and Friday. When I zig, they zag, but that's turkey hunting. Yeah, I appreciate that, John. I'm trying to. It was a post from a guy named Keith DeWald Jr. I don't know Keith, but I knew his dad. Now, I don't know if his dad is still around, but I worked very closely with his dad. I'm assuming it's his dad, Keith DeWald, when we had the old News 5 Outdoor Saginaw Bay walleye circuit. So I'll follow up. Well, I got a better idea. Tim says, Mike, do you want geese to stay away from the pond? I don't know. I like them out in the pond. I just don't want them in the yard. That's what I don't like. There we go. They're big flying rats. Seagulls are flying rats and geese are big flying rats. Tim says, you want geese to stay away from your pond, you have to use the aviary spray on your grass. I used to work for a landscape company. The stuff works great. It doesn't hurt the geese. It makes the grass taste bad. Tim, tell me more. What do you call it? The aviary spray. Let me make a note on that. Aviary spray, not Avery spray. Aviary spray. I will check that out, because what I've been doing about twice. All that whole decoy crap doesn't work. Decoy crap, hawk, owls, coyotes, none of that stuff works. You know what does work? A 3-foot snow fence. It's a green snow fence that I put up every year. It blends in very well. Doesn't look bad. It's not like it's an orange cyclone fence. And I know geese can fly, but I have to put this thing up every year. John says, get a dog. I put this fence up, and they will not go over it. I know they can fly over it, and they know they can fly over it, but they don't. So I will try that aviary spray. Good morning, Captain. How are things out in the Detroit River? Yeah, I just don't want a dog. I love dogs. I love other people's dogs. I just don't want a dog. Tim says, we got the spray from the local Tractor Supply store. Okay. Tractor Supply. I will check that out, Tim. It would be a lot easier just to spray the grass than it would be put up that whole fence. I will certainly. That's great. Really, Tim, I appreciate that. Aviary spray from Tractor Supply. I'll try it, because that's what they're coming up for, right? They're coming up to eat the grass.
2 minutes.
And man, do they drop some bombs. Jim says a string about 6 inches off the ground. Nope. Tried that. Didn't work. So I put first of all, I tried fishing line, a string of fishing line. Nope. They went under it and over it. I tried 2 strings of fishing line. Nope. They went between it. I tried 3. Nope. Didn't work. So then what I did was I went to binder twine, something bigger with more volume, maybe that they could see it and intimidate it. That didn't work either. The only thing that has worked has been that that green snow fence, even though it's only 3 feet high, maybe it's only 2, they won't go over it. But Tim, I will try that aviary spray from Tractor Supply. Excellent. Great advice. Thank you for that. That would save me a lot of hassle. Because I love seeing them out in the pond. Because they've got some babies out there, goslings out there swimming around behind them now. And they are cute until they come up in your yard and they drop bombs the size of dogs. 1 minute. They're big flying rats. Exactly. They eat a lot of grass and they drop it on your sidewalk and all over your backyard. All right, my friends, in about 45 seconds or so, we're going to start the show, this week's show. And I'll change my focus from talking and interacting with you to recording the radio show. So even though you'll see me sitting here and talking into the mic and you might think I'm still doing a behind the mic, it'll be the radio show and I will not be able to directly interact with you and answer your questions. But if you join me again tonight at 7:00, spring goose season. Amen, John. 7:00 for another. Oh, I got to start a timer here.
10.
Yeah, Pat. I'm not ready to start a timer. What are you doing to me?
5.
No, 2, 1. I started it.
All right.
Man. All right, my friends. So I will not be able to interact with you. I won't be able to answer your questions. If you ask me something, don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm just turning my attention to something else. But 7:00 tonight for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I'll be back in the studio at the house. Missed last week because we were on the road for a good reason and enjoying some nice weather. This isn't what we planned.
He's on with the Tigers having a doubleheader. He's dealing with some stuff.
Okay.
But he'll be in.
So I'm in here with Pat Johnson, the award-winning radio journalist. And Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery. Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. More than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan. A 3-hour celebration of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. Hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues and wild game cooking and just all of these things that are just so much fun and so much a part of many families' history and our state's history here in this wonderful state of Michigan. This is the first weekend, the first full weekend of May that you and I have talked. Welcome to the month of May. Does it feel like it in your neck of the woods? Probably not. Now, Pat Johnson here in the studio tells me the forecast coming up looks like it's going to be pretty nice. But man, it's been cold, hasn't it? Like unseasonably cold. Now, I did take a little I admit to taking a little break. We made a trip down to the Keys for a family wedding. Congrats, Devin and Sarah. It was a beautiful ceremony. The weather was absolutely wonderful. What a nice getaway it was. But it did cause me to start my turkey hunting a little bit late. Now, as a result, as we're sitting here in the studio, I've only been out 3 times. Now, I do plan to hunt tomorrow and the next day. And it's been an interesting season so far, as turkey hunting often is. The way I turkey hunt is it's not a run and gun. I turkey hunt more like deer hunting. I set up a blind, and I'm using that Wraith 270 see-through blind from Primal Tree Stands. I love that blind. If you have not yet hunted out of a see-through blind, you need to give them a look, no pun intended. Because one of the problems with blinds in the past is blinds had blind spots. And the only thing you could see out of was these little windows, right? So critters could sneak up on you. with these see-through blinds like this Wraith 270. You've got a black wall behind you, but 270 degrees of visibility. You can see turkeys and deer and bear sneaking in from different directions. So I absolutely love them. So I'm set up in one of these. I've got decoys in front of me, and then I try to call a bird into my location. So I don't run and gun, and I am this year. I'm hunting with a dart and crossbow. I love turkey hunting and bear hunting with a bow. I think those two critters. I think God put those two critters on the face of the earth to be bow hunted. They're perfect for it. So I'm on my buddy Doug's property. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. But the birds are roosting off his property to a piece of woods to the east of us. I know right where they're roosting. I mean, I can't get over there because I don't have access to that property yet. I'm working on it. So I've set up about 75 yards. The problem is I can't call those birds directly to me because there's water between the roost and my blind. So I know from past experience what they like to do is either swing out to the north and hit a cornfield. It used to be corn. Now it's plowed field behind me to the north, or they come off the roost and they walk this ridge to the south, and then they pop over into Doug's property out in the open again, about 150 yards south of where I'm set up. So, this is, I think, the third year I've hunted there. So I have a little bit of sense of how the birds are moving through the property. I debated now, do I set up my blind 150 yards to the south where I've had a couple of close encounters with birds? Because I know they walk the ridge and then they pop out right there. You can see it's a deer runway, turkey runway too, they come out on. Birds, unless they're bothered, are creatures of habit. Or do I set up in the northeast corner of the property closer to the roost in hopes that I can call the birds around the water back in behind me? Flip a coin. What do you do? I went to the northeast corner. So I'm sitting out there. I hear birds on the roost, a couple of birds. All right. And they sound like longbeards. They're not short little gobbles. I think, okay, I got a couple of big birds, adult birds up there. They come down, they hit the ground, they shut up. No more talking. I have a hard time turkey hunting when I don't hear the birds. If I can hear them, my confidence is up and I know how to call and how to react. And I am more patient because if I know there are birds in the area, I'll sit there all day long. But if I don't hear birds, I start to second guess myself. So I called a little bit, no response. I thought I'm just going to sit here and wait and see what Mother Nature hands me. About 45 minutes, maybe an hour later, I looked down to the south toward where I was thinking about setting up the blind. And you know what it was. Out of the woods from the east walked two hens, and right behind them was a strutter. They milled around feeding in the long grass, and that big tom behind them strutting, never gobbled, never made a sound, for probably 20 minutes. And I'm watching this whole thing. From 150 yards to the north, I can see a bird strutting for 20 minutes, 20 yards in front of where I was going to set up the blind. That's turkey hunting. So they wandered off, and I'm thinking this thing through, and I'm going, Avery, you should have just set up the blind where you did in the past. And so here's the really good part. Mid-morning, I broke down the Wraith, I picked up my gear, and I traveled that 150 yards to the south where the birds were strutting. I set up my blind in preparation for the next morning's hunt. And as I'm setting up the blind, I look to the north, and there are those two hens and that longbeard right where I left. That's why I love and hate turkey hunting. Doug's wife, Wendy, said the story reminded her of Bill Murray and Caddyshack chasing the gopher back and forth. Well, that is kind of what it feels like. Oh, but it's that type of interaction that makes me love turkey hunting. Now, I do have, I think, well, I'm working on getting access to that property to the east where the birds are roosted. If that happens, things will change. Things will change. So anyway, that's my turkey hunting story so far. I've got the entire month of May, so I'm not too worried about it. How's your turkey hunting going? I've had a lot of people send in pictures to the Facebook page, or you can email them to me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and I will share them on the page. It's still a continued concern across the state about turkey numbers being down. Now, I've been talking with some pretty knowledgeable people on this, and there are some very, very interesting theories out there that I hope to be able to follow up on sometime here in the next couple of weeks. I hope these theories aren't true. What else is going on? Oh, I talked to Brad Dupuy, Mr. Angler Quest. He says that they should start building my boat sometime in the next week or so. And once they start on those things, it doesn't take them long to make them. What I am going to have to do is lower the dock. I keep my boat in a marina. I just find it much more convenient when it's sitting there at the dock on the water. I think you use it. I use it and I fish more because I don't have to worry with a trailer and a boat launch. But the dock was kind of high last year, and with the dropping water levels, it's going to be way high this year. So I think we're going to have to drop the dock a little bit. Speaking of things to do around the house, I think it's just about time to put up the goose fence. We live, where we live has a pond in the backyard, and it's a beautiful pond, and I love it. And it's filled with creatures. It's filled with ducks and geese and muskrats and deer, and it's beautiful. But those geese, and I never used to have anything against geese at all. Well, now I hate them. They're like big flying rats. They make such a mess. So I've had this ongoing battle with these geese. How do you keep them out of the yard? I've tried different types of strings, different types of fishing line. I found that a snow fence, a short snow fence, and it's green, so it blends in. It doesn't look bad. I put that up, realizing that geese can fly over the fence, but they won't. But as I was doing a behind the mic live stream here in the studio before, somebody suggested an avian spray that they pick up at the local tractor supply store. They said, spray that on your grass and it'll change the taste and the geese won't come up and eat it. Well, that would be a little bit easier than a fence, that's for sure. Don't forget, May, right now, the month of May, is the time to apply for your Michigan bear and elk application. I will apply for an elk application, elk tag, knowing full well I'll never get it. But if you don't apply, you won't get it. I will apply for the third season in Newberry. Season starts September 25th. I am guaranteed that tag. I will be talking with Johnny Bowler. Johnny will be joining us a little bit later in the show, too. Well-known Michigan bear guide. After the break, Jason Karstens of True North Guide Service out of the Sioux. Then Johnny Bowler talking about bear hunting in the UP. Brenda Archambault on the sturgeon spawning run. Nick Green of MUCC with an update on the commercial fishing situation. And in hour number 3, Jerry Gostinek talking about bass fishing here in Michigan. And, of course, we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. That's this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. John, rub it in, buddy. I saw your 350 Legend yesterday, and, boy, it looks sweet. Thanks for that, John. Thanks for rubbing that in. Appreciate you. All right, my friends, I got to go. But I will be back tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I hope you can join me then. In the meantime, have a great day. You can always send me an email, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Be sure to check out the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and I'll hopefully talk to you tonight at 7 o'clock.